Good morning. It is January 10th, 2024. This is episode 42 of the Green Comedy PaulCast. I am still in the cold and flu edition of these podcasts. Cold's probably kind of getting at its worst, but I am still pushing through, and your dreams, they never take a day off. So I am continuing to strive for my goal of posting a podcast daily for an entire year. At least we'll see how things evolve after I've done this for a year. So, couple exciting things that happened yesterday. First of all, I got an audition from my fantastic agent in Los Angeles that I am very excited for. It's for a commercial. I am not at liberty to discuss the nature of the project, but the character is really fun. I'm hoping that I will feel better. The audition is due tomorrow, and I still don't feel very good, and the character that I'm reading for is going to be pretty high energy and is going to require my voice to be better than it is now. So hopefully I will be able to have some improvement, hopefully by tonight, so that I can record that audition. And then another exciting thing is I got a call from the booker who is part of the production company that booked me on my weekend gigs that I've talked about, where I was in New Mexico and Colorado over the weekend. And he called me yesterday and said that he got good feedback from the producers of the shows that I had performed at. And because of that feedback, he called me and gave me 4 more shows in February. So I've booked 2 more dates out in February. That's just exciting to, again, just seeing opportunities come my way from multiple avenues within entertainment. My commercial agent gets me an audition, and then I book more gigs with my booker. So I will be looking forward to those shows. That'll be on February 9th and 10th at the Pechanga Casino and Resort in Temecula, California. So I'll be heading out there on the 9th and 10th. And I've still got a good slate of shows here for the rest of January. So very excited for everything that is going on. Hopefully this cold will sort of run its course here in the next day or so. What's really sort of discouraging is, man, do I even want to go down this road? Just how many things that I have been told over the years, or things that I thought were true, that just end up being totally bogus. So one of them was a couple days, when this cold started coming on, I was like, I'm going to go to the sauna in my gym, and they also have a steam room, because I was under the impression that sitting in the sauna that you were able to sweat out toxins from your body. Turns out that is completely not true. That doesn't actually really exist, this sweating out toxins. And what's really kind of funny about that is how I learned that is I was scrolling on TikTok the other day, and this video popped up of these guys who took a hidden camera into a Scientology sort of initiation meeting or something like that, or a Scientology church equivalent or whatever. And as part of their initiation, they were saying, yeah, you need to sit in a sauna for 4 hours to cleanse your body of all of its toxins. And then the guys who did this said, yeah, if you Google, does sauna release toxins, you'll find out very quickly that's not true. And I'm like, what? That isn't true? I thought that sauna was that's what it did. It helped you sweat, and then you sweated out all of these toxins or whatever. And then if you were sick, that you're like sweating out viruses or whatever. I don't know. What do I know? Obviously not very much. And so I Googled the same thing, and it's just article after article and study after study that like sitting in a sauna actually doesn't really specifically help you sweat out toxins per se. They did say, it does help sort of with your circulatory system. So sort of indirectly, it can help with the immune system just because it's sort of getting the blood flowing. But in terms of the actual physical act of sweating, you're not actually, you're not getting rid of your cold. And then I thought the same thing about inhaling steam, which was something I thought I'd heard, and I gone, well, if the sauna thing isn't true, then let me guess, inhaling steam doesn't really do anything. In my mind, it's like, oh, I'm inhaling steam. I'm like killing the bacteria in my, nasal passages or whatever. Turns out that also is not happening. So I guess I'm just going to have to leave it up to my good old immune system and just good old-fashioned hydration and vitamins to let my body fight this off. And anything else that I thought that I could do is just pseudoscience. Yay, facts. But I don't really, I don't know. I kind of just don't let sicknesses and stuff like this bother me or get me down. It's just, I don't feel great now, but I know I'm going to feel better later, and it's just sort of part of it. And so I don't really dwell on, oh, I'm sick. I haven't really taken time off work. I work remotely, so, it's not like I'm going into an office because I know that that's a little bit more problematic. You're, potentially introducing, the illness to coworkers or whatever. I did go out to eat, which, I'm sure I can get all kinds of flack for that as how dare I do that. But, I don't ever buy groceries, and so I eat out every day. It's sort of my ritual. I go out to a restaurant. I bring my notebook to go do writing, and then I write all of my jokes. So, speaking of which, I kind of had a interesting little encounter, which might be a little controversial. So I went to Fazoli's. They opened up a Fazoli's in Mesa, which I used to eat at all the time back in the day, and I hadn't seen them in years. If you don't know Fazoli's, it's like a fast food Italian restaurant with unlimited breadsticks, which are delicious. So they opened up this Fazoli's right where close to where I perform improv, where I'll be at Saturday. And so in my mind, I'm like, cool, I'm going to go to Fazoli's. I'm going to get a bunch of breadsticks. There's garlic on the breadsticks. Now, I know everything else there is garbage and probably not the best thing for me to be eating while I'm sick, but I've heard that garlic is good for killing bacteria and viruses, although I should probably Google that because I'll probably find out that even that's not true, since I found out that saunas and inhaling steam don't help. Anyway, but whatever. So I'm at Fazoli's, and I think because it's sort of the new place in town, it's been pretty packed, and it's not actually a huge restaurant. There's not a ton of seating. So I show up, there's one table left. I take the table, and then sort of what I do when I'm writing is, I'll eat my meal, I'll pop in my earbuds, I'll put on some sort of like white noise to sort of, drown out the background noise, and then I'll start writing. Start working on my jokes and my routines. So I had eaten my meal, and I'm writing away, and I wanted some more breadsticks, and I didn't see somebody come by for a little while, and it's starting to get pretty packed. So I finally get the attention of somebody. I'm like, hey, can I get some more breadsticks? And she's like, sure, but they're pretty busy. So I have my earbuds in, I'm writing away, and all of a sudden this guy kind of like taps on the table at me. And I'm like, oh, what? And he goes, it's pretty packed in here. Can I have this table for my party or something like that? And, I didn't like that. I don't know. There was just something about his attitude, the way that he asked, and I just said, I'll leave when I'm finished. And he kind of gave me this smug look, kind of like, oh, okay, I guess you're not going to just jump up and leave because, this guy asked me to. Now, I can see his point of view. He probably just saw me sitting alone at a table, and I didn't have any food at my table at that time because I hadn't had my breadsticks refill, hadn't come through, and he probably just saw me writing. So he's like, oh, this kid isn't even eating. He's finished. He's one person at this table. I have a family. He should leave. And so I can see his point of view. On the other hand, first of all, it was kind of a growth moment for me personally. Now, by the way, I totally know how one version of this story, I look like the jerk. And I'm fine with that. You can think I'm a jerk. But most of my life, I have been a people pleaser, and I avoid conflict. And I have a really hard time saying no. And the fact that, I was not ready to leave, I got to the table first. Plus, I still had food coming. I wasn't done with my dining experience. Now, just because I didn't have food in front of me at the time doesn't mean that I don't get to sit at the table anymore. And also, this sort of hey, there's a lot of people waiting, sort of putting this kind of guilt on me. Like it's my fault that Fazoli's happens to be busy and all of the tables are full. And that he would pick me out and have the audacity to come interrupt me and in essence tell me to leave. I don't have a right to be there anymore because, I'm not actively shoving food down my face. So therefore, I should relinquish my table to him because he feels he has a greater entitlement to it because whatever. And I just said no. I said it as politely as I can. I was a little miffed, plus I was in the zone. I had my earbuds in, I'm writing, I'm focusing, and for him to interrupt me and get my attention and in essence, ask me to leave so that he can sit down with his party, whoever his party is. And old me probably would have been very uncomfortable and oh, I don't want a confrontation. Oh yeah, oh sure, sorry, yeah, And not now. Now I just was how rude to interrupt somebody. It's you don't own the place, buddy. And so sorry that Fazoli's is busy and that you decided to come to a restaurant that's packed, and that because of that, you've got to stand and wait for a table. Why don't you go around and bother any other table? Why me? Is it because I'm just alone? I don't know. I'm probably overthinking all of this, but for me personally, just to be able to just sit there in my space and just say no, I'm not leaving. As I reflected on that, I'm going, yeah, that's new for me. That's newer for me. I haven't quite been that sort of bold or willing to just stand up for myself and say no when I really feel no. I didn't feel like I should leave. I didn't feel like I wanted to leave. I didn't feel like I was obligated to leave just because the restaurant was packed and there were people waiting for a table, that somehow means that I'm obligated to cut my trip short just because I happen to be occupying a table that somebody else may want at the time. So, and I think there's I think the reason I'm thinking about that is because I think there's a lot more to that. And when I talk about, going for dreams, going for what you really want, oh, excuse me, I've been trying to avoid coughing this whole podcast. There are going to be people who are going to try to push you around or try to tell you what they think you should be doing and how you think that you should be accommodating them, trying to push you out of your space. And to the extreme version of that, there will be people who even want to mistreat you and abuse you and take advantage of you. Now, I know I'm taking this little microcosm of a interaction and really extrapolating it to something a lot more than that one particular interaction perhaps indicated. But I think it's really important to learn how to not be pushed around and to not be mistreated. And that if you really feel something, and if you feel that you're in the right, and if you know that you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're not proactively out there trying to take advantage of other people or mistreat other people. It's like you're doing your thing. If people come along and try to project their opinions, their thoughts on who you should be and what you should be doing, learning to stand on your own 2 feet and say no. If the answer is legitimately no, if that's what you really feel, being willing to set those boundaries, just being like, no, I'm not leaving because I don't have to. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not breaking any rules. I'm not breaking any laws. I'm sorry that you're unhappy with the choices that I'm making, and that the choices that I'm making aren't allowing you to get what you feel you deserve, but I'm not taking anything from you. I didn't promise you anything. I didn't set any expectations for you. It's like you showed up at a Fazoli's at 7 p.m. on a busy night and all the tables are full. The world doesn't owe you anything, and I sure as heck don't owe you my table because you seem to feel like my use of this table is no longer as worthy as your sense of entitlement to it. So, no, I'll leave when I'm finished. Thank you. And that's exactly what I did. I got some more breadsticks. I finished writing up what I was writing. And I left when I was ready to leave. And the second I got up, I don't know if it was that same guy, but, people filled right in. And that was fine because now the table was available. And so when you're out there pursuing your dreams, pursuing anything in life, there are going to be people who will feel a sense of entitlement to tell you what to do, tell you what they think you should be, what you should be doing. But that has nothing to do with you. That has everything to do with them. And as long as you are being true to what you know is in your heart, and you know what your intentions are. I did not intentionally go to Fazoli's to make sure that all of these other people had to stand around and wait for me. My intention to go to Fazoli's was to enjoy some really cheap, halfway decent Italian food and do some writing. And that's what I did. And when somebody tried to tell me that I needed to not be doing that because they felt entitled to my space, I had to stand on my own 2 feet and say no. And I'm having those experiences more and more as a comedian, as a performer, as I'm starting to really double down on this dream of mine, putting myself out there, becoming a lot more visible, a lot more vulnerable, putting my art out there, putting my thoughts out there, putting my intentions out there, the comments that I'm getting, the thoughts that I'm getting, the feedback that I'm giving, which, by the way, almost all of it is positive, but there is also those people who feel like they want to cast shade and be negative. And I am learning more and more that it is okay to stand on my own 2 feet, And to say no, the answer is no. And to be okay with potentially having somebody think that I'm a jerk or that I'm an a-hole because I didn't conform to their idea of morality or whatever that they feel that I should adapt. Like, hey, that guy thought that he was in the moral superior right to request my table because he did not feel that I should be entitled to it anymore. He led with that. There's a lot of people waiting. Why is that my problem? I didn't ask them to come to Fazoli's, a very busy restaurant on a very busy night. There's plenty of other places they could go that have plenty of open seating, but that doesn't mean that you get my seat. And just because I'm out here living my dreams and maybe somebody has a problem with the fact that I'm out here living my dreams doesn't mean that they get to tell me to stop or to give their opinions on it. If they, have constructive advice, I'm always open to listening to people who I know actually have my best intention at heart. But for the most part, anybody who doesn't like what I'm doing or thinks that I should be doing something differently or feels they have the moral high ground in any other way, hey, you can go ahead and think that way, but that has nothing to do with me. And I'm going to continue to follow my dreams, follow my heart, and set boundaries and say no when the answer is no, and move forward with my life on my terms as best as I can. So whatever that means to any of you out there, that was my little insight based on about a 20-second interaction at Fazoli's in Mesa, Arizona last night. So I hope that all of you are doing fantastic, that you are following your dreams, you're finding joy and fulfillment in your journey. And I look forward to connecting with you again tomorrow. I love you all so much. This is January 10th, 2024, episode 42 of the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast. I love you all so much. I'll talk to you tomorrow.